Adventist History CarTalks, number 15, with Pastor Kevin Morgan.
So what's the difference between Ellen White's times and ours? Well, we can look at technological advances and egotistically assume that we are at an advanced time. But just because we have fancy cars that we can drive to and fro, and we have devices that we can record things, cameras in our phones, the internet to access knowledge, we would be hard-pressed to survive in the times of Ellen White. All the information that they had to keep in mind just to travel across the country. You had to make connections with the train stations, know when they are there, know when to connect with the individual close at hand so that they could pick you up at the train station and then take you by conveyance of some sort to the location where she would have meetings. We just book a flight, or we hop in our car and we just drive. And if we're not too certain of the way, we punch in GPS. Many of us that use GPS could not even repeat the directions that we use to get there because we're
at the bottom of the
thinking
hill,
about something else.
make a right.
Our phones are telling us what to do.
Continue straight ahead.
So they had a knowledge of travel and things that we didn't have, that we don't have now. Skills. If you look at the construction of buildings, some of them that are still around, craftsmanship that was in it. We still have a few craftsmen that do that, but most of our young people don't know how to do that. Those that do have those skills can charge a premium for them. So we're not ahead in that respect. We spend most of our time, we get most of our information not reading, but listening. And so we are informed by people who have already digested information and given it to us. Even in this age of independent journalists, we tend to find someone who is capable of digesting and then giving us the information in that way. So, intellectually superior. How many of us can even write without the help of spell checkers that correct our spelling, correct our punctuation? I find occasionally an error in an old book, but they were doing that all without the aid of spell checkers, grammar checkers. So they had it up here. We live with a great deal more ambiguity that they had in those days. There were different persuasions religiously, of course, and there were those that were religious and not religious. It's surprising to find how few people, percentage-wise, in the founding of this nation actually attended church. We would assume that it was all, but most people did believe in God. They didn't have those differences. But confusion over gender, to think that journalists were always fair and balanced is also a mistake. We have our brands of journalism today, just as they did then. You would identify a newspaper based on the bias. You know, this one is Democrat, this is Republican. You know, this one is abolitionist. You know, there was a bias in reporting, so we're not superior to them. In fact, maybe we have even more bias than a few years ago. So do we stand head and shoulders above them? Not in skills, not in the ability to process material. Maybe in some ways we're not the same, just with more technological toys. And with greater ambiguity about things. And maybe that's what we don't like, the clarity that they had. Sabbath, among Seventh Adventists, was Sabbath. It was a day that was set aside to put other things out of the way. That's why some of us were struck with Charlie Kirk's description of how he observed the Sabbath, completely turning all his media off for that period and devoting it to God, to his family. We haven't allowed those kinds of things to intrude. There was clarity in moving this whole denomination along on principles of health. Maybe they were simplistic, but as a whole, we were the beneficiaries. And even to this day, studies indicate that the simpler life that has a special day of rest, the simpler life that has simpler food and not the complex things and chemicals that are put into foods, are healthier. Healthcare should be healthcare, taking care of your health. But unfortunately, in this sophisticated age, we live with sickness management. Some things are beyond our control, but other things are in our control. And those who have studied, those who live simply, recognize that they have had advantages. So why don't we like those simpler ways? Because we've gotten attached to our complexities. We like entertainment. We like our favorite beverages. We like our music. And so things have gotten blurred. And yet, there's a beauty and an opportunity for us to simplify our lives even today, to take the book Ministry of Healing and to order our lives according to the principles we find there, to take the book Education and order our educational system according to the principles presented there, to take the book Desire of Ages and Christ Optic Lessons, some of those books that she wrote, and learn of Jesus and reflect his character, appreciate his great gift to us. So there's a relevance to looking to the past. It shows us how God has led in the past, and it provides us with simple principles that still work, still are valuable, still can be appreciated, even in this complex and ambiguous age. That's my thought.